There is a strong relationship between the quality of management practices within, at the level of the firm. So we know that in the data that we've collected, firms that are better managed tend to also be more productive. They grow faster. They also tend to be more innovative, which is, something that perhaps often gets a little bit unnoticed when people talk about management. And then we also know, again, from the data, that a higher proportion of well-managed firms will translate, it's strongly correlated with measures of productivity at the country level. And so at the end of the day, what we believe is that, better management can be a sustained, driver of growth, both for firms, but then in the aggregate also for economies. The CEO, in my view, is the person that really sets the tone for the organization. If the CEO is able to communicate that management practices are important, not only for the financial performance of the organization, but for how the organization works, being able to communicate, for example, or surface problems. This is something that it's easier for the employees to do if the manager is able to communicate that, this is, if you like, a language for the whole organization. And to do that, the CEO has to be able to convince and to persuade the other people in the firm that it's something that it's also in their best interest to do. So it's very difficult for, I don't believe in CEOs going around and telling people what to do. Management doesn't happen by top-down command. Good management takes place and is really adopted when the whole workforce believes in it. So that's, I think the role of the CEO is basically set the direction, communicate the priorities, and also allocate the decision-making to the middle managers. Now, once all this is clear, it's obvious that people who are closer to the action, and in this case, the middle managers are the one closer to the actions, they are the people who should have the authority to, again, do this work of persuasion and the coordination with the workers, and also adapt the system in the ways that is most optimal for the whole organization. Sometimes what looks optimal from the top, from the C-suite, is actually very suboptimal at the front line. And middle managers play this very important role of translation and continuous improvement of the whole system. So both come in and both are really important. I think that the biggest mistake that one can make is to believe that the firm is a machine. Where you come in, you read something maybe in a book, you decide to implement it, and boom, it's this idea that that you can either perfectly control what people do, or, and I think that that's the other extreme, that people will do things just because you give them the right financial incentives. So I think that these are the two mistakes, a little bit at the two different shades of the same mistakes, which is not really understanding what motivates people to follow your lead. And so, in a similar group, I would put a third category of problem, which is believing that somebody else can do it for you. Often you can get, and I think that consultants can play a really important role. They often tell you what to do, but if you really want the workforce to believe in the new direction, you have to put your face in it. You have to walk the talk. And so it's not something that can be fully delegated either. To me, the key word is respect. It's a leadership style that it's not necessarily going around and hugging people. That's not what I meant, right? Of course, if you are a kind person, all the better. But I think that people really want to be respected in their own, take pride in what they do, and they also want the leaders to understand the extent to which they are bringing their effort and their expertise to work. And this is something that can happen with super specialized workers. I'm thinking about scientists that have this deep knowledge, or experts that really want to be recognized for all their studies and all the amazing skills that they bring. But it's equally true for positions that are really on the front line. For example, I remember, talking with shop floor workers that had a very specific knowledge about what they were doing and they were taking immense pride in the work that they were doing on the shop floor. And I remember that in this specific instance, there was also, the motivation to keep doing well came from the fact that they knew that the leaders recognized their efforts and recognized their expertise. And so I think, to me, the best trait in this leadership, we talk about leadership style. Leadership is multidimensional. It's very difficult to bring it only to one dimension, but one dimension that I think it's necessary is the ability to show respect and actually respect the workers at all levels of the organization. And I would distinguish between innovation that is more related to continuous improvement, and innovation that has to do with finding, if you like, having a sense of where you're going and trying to continuously improve to get there. So this is a super important part of innovation. It happens gradually. And I think that there might be actually a very tight connection between innovation and productivity. There is then a second type of innovation, which is, if you like, the more disruptive, perhaps is not the right word, but it's, innovation that requires going into the unknown. Where you actually don't really know, you have a sense of the direction, but there has to be tremendous discovery to get there. And this may be the one that is more typically associated, I don't know, with pharmaceutical, or this sort of more visible innovative industries. And then in the short run, there can even be a negative relationship between productivity and innovation, because you are putting resources into an activity that is very difficult to define. And actually, if you try to be productive as you engage in that activity, that may even backfire, because it can stifle the discovery process. Although, of course, if things go well, and if you're able to make that discovery in the long run, you might actually see, even a greater increase, an exponential increase in productivity. So in my view, there is, innovation is something that we should always aspire to. And I think that that's the key for competing today. The two things to keep in mind is that there are different shades of innovation. One that is more gradual and takes place every day, tinkering around the known. And then there is the other piece, which is the more unknown and the real discovery, the one that is more associated with discovery, and that has some cost. Which may need to be incurred in the short run to deliver the results in the long run. And that might even imply some short-run losses in productivity in view of these longer-term returns.
Y Pade. The world calls.